Let's see if everybody's here and arrived. We want to make sure that I get this stuff working. We're probably going to have a few bugs here, and want to make sure we got stuff going. So you should all see the screen of my QQQ, Nasdaq. Want to talk about that. We're getting a few people signed in. Okay, we're starting to see some eyeballs on here, and yeah, we've got the new computer up and running, so I wanted to make sure that we're doing all right here. Let me look at one thing because I want to do the test this thing for some bandwidth. And then whoever is being logged in, I know I see a few people. If you can, just shoot me a message through here and let me know that this is working for you, and that we get some eyes on here. All right, so looking good as far as the Wi-Fi. All right. So what we should be able to see is the Nasdaq, and I won't be able to be drawing on it today because my OBS is only picking up one type of thing. But what I'm looking at is for the Nasdaq, we've had a decent move to the upside. I need to see this thing start to cycle back down, and we've seen this example pretty recently. So yeah, thanks guys, everything's working well. Just keep me posted. I know you guys are my Moxie people, so let me know if everything's working. And yes, anybody else out there, we'll continue working on this. So hopefully, let me know if you guys can also see my cursor, because that's going to be how I'm going to start talking about and describing things today, because I can't use my drawing tool right now. So back here, around March 16th, my birthday, you could see that price ran right into the underside of the hourly 200. And what I'm looking for is the same kind of situation. I'm looking at price kind of doing the same deal currently as price running right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 200 SMA. And part of my reason for thinking that is that price has not touched the hourly 50 yet for support. And that's what I'm kind of concerned about. I need to see price pull back before we can see that start to move to the upside. All right, thanks. Glad you guys can see the cursor. So in through here, let me pull it up for the last time so that we can get a closer look. So right here, March 16th, you see that price ran right into the hourly 200. After that, it pulled back below the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator was above 0. All right, I think you guys can be hearing me. Maybe it's still buffering a little bit, but yeah, you guys, sound should be good. So right here, below the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator staying above 0 was a trampoline move. And so we're looking for we're looking for high pressure, high buoyancy. That is the whole purpose of the Moxie indicator, is that the indicator is telling us that energy and momentum is still positive, even though price is down or below the moving average. That is the thing that we can tell is going to tell us that price should be moving to the upside, and then we get that move. So if we then look here, and also the distance between the hourly 50 and the 200, you see how when price finally took off, look how close that hourly 50 was to crossing over the hourly 200. It went from fast moving average below the slow moving average to fast moving average above the slow moving average. And then if we look here, what do we see? We see that there is still a distance between the hourly 50 and the hourly 200. There's still a distance. And all of this, let me keep zooming in a little bit further. All of this is happening without price having touched the hourly 50 yet. So you see here how it just hasn't touched it yet. Therefore, what I'm looking at is price has not bounced off of the hourly 50 yet. It hasn't tested it yet. It's only moved across it into what I'm perceiving as resistance. And so I want to see price come back down. If we look at the hourly chart, the daily chart, we can kind of see a little bit of the same situation. You see how there's this gap between price and the 8 EMA on the daily chart for the Nasdaq, that is problematic. There's a distance there that price wants to somehow fulfill. It wants to get back down to that support. So any kind of pullback, if we come back to here, that looks like roughly $329 and say 60 cents. I think it's probably going to go a little bit lower, maybe like that. So let's call it like high 328s. And if we can do that, then we can find support at the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator is above 0 at this point, so that's good. We're starting to see that. And then we can start looking at the Nasdaq to start moving to the upside. Now, let's switch over to the IWM. So at the IWM, we keep looking at this and saying, all right, well, has there been any kind of clarity yet? And for the most part, so as far as the hourly 200, yes, it is a concern. So for the Nasdaq, it is a concern about that turning down. That's why I want to probably see for the Nasdaq price dip below the hourly 50 and then shoot back up, and that should hopefully bring the hourly 50 and hourly 200 closer together. All right, and so if we look at the IWM, the biggest question is the daily 50 going to be resistance? And is the hourly 200 going to be resistance? It has been for the last couple days, but I was just in my Moxie room with my Moxie subscribers and traders, and we were looking at a lot of things, a lot of the stuff that I like to trade that happens to be in the IWM, in the small caps, and we're starting to see them kind of come back alive after they've been brutalized for so many months. They just such big pullbacks. And so we look at this. I can see here that price got rejected by the hourly 200 right back here on May 18th. Still no audio. Well, I see that there's audio on my side. Let me double check something. All right, so hopefully there is audio because it should be working, should be pulling. All right, and then so for the daily chart, price here back on May 18th, you can see price did run into the daily 50 as well. But price keeps holding up. It keeps kind of holding up. And what I'm starting to see is we might actually get the IWM starting to push through the daily 50. Like it's just starting to do that today. And yesterday, it did kind of pop up through the daily 50. But it wasn't quite ready because if I look at the hourly chart, all right, so on the hourly chart, we can even see here the last couple times, the May 21st and even May 24th. We saw that price was getting rejected by the hourly 200. And this is the same situation. This is the same setup that I'm talking about with the Nasdaq. I'm saying with the Nasdaq that we have price running right into the underside of the hourly 200. And it's been doing it with this gap between price and the hourly 50. You see how this is very similar to the Nasdaq? And what did we just get on the IWM? We just got a pullback into the hourly 50 that appears to have recovered. So we're starting to see some good progress here. And if price can continue to stay above the hourly 50 at this point and use this squeeze that we're starting to see develop, if we could see that, then we could see price continue to move up and over the hourly 200 and up and over the daily 50. And if we look at the 15, we want to see price continue to follow the 15-minute 50, which also, if you look at the 15-minute 200, we could see price moving up along the 15-minute 200. And that would be great. All right. Thanks, Jason. Glad that was a user error as far as the volume. Yeah, audio seems to be fine. All right. So if we look for the SPY, this one might kind of just go sideways for a little bit. Because if you look, when I was just showing you about the NASDAQ and that distance between the 8 and 21, or sorry, the distance between price and the 8, you see how right here over the last 2 days, there was a gap between price and the 8 EMA. And how did the SPY respond to that? The SPY actually pulled back a little bit and started going sideways. So it could continue to chop around a little bit. You know, there is the possibility, let me zoom in here on the 15, there is the possibility that price might get rejected by this 15-minute 50 and go down a little bit closer to the hourly 50, which would also be closer to the 8 EMA on the daily chart. That's a possibility. If that happens, then if we can determine that the hourly 50 is support, then we're good. You know, that's actually working out pretty well. I've got some more kind of stuff to talk about this as far as the last few days with the Moxie indicator, but I'm going to be saving that for the Moxie room because that's some really like nitty-gritty, deep down stuff for the Moxie indicator. And I know those subscribers over there have had a lot of education for it, so I don't want to bore anybody else over there. But otherwise, if price doesn't go down, then I would like to see maybe the SPY kind of chop around just a little bit longer to go sideways to get the hourly 50 closer to the hourly to price. So I want the price and the hourly 50 to get a little bit closer for support. Now let's go over to the Dow. And here, this is a pretty good example of what I was just looking for on the S&P. Right here. You guys see here on the Dow? Look at that. See how price pulled back into the hourly 50? That's better. Starting to see what I want to see. So it's starting to come into some support. And you see how price is here, sitting on the daily 8 EMA? That's looking pretty good too. Starting to find some support there. So if this can hold up, and now I know currently we are in inverse trampoline move on the hourly chart. I'm going to give it a little bit of leeway right now. So I think that price is basically working its way through, trying to go bullish. You can see back here around May 17th, you can see how price did get rejected by the hourly 50. And in fact, on May 14th, this is an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. And that was coming up from below, and that was pretty clear resistance. Right now, because the Moxie indicator is still below 0, it's working on trying to build that strength. You can see we've tested the hourly 50 on May 21st. We're trying to test it again. If this kind of keeps operating in this area and the Moxie indicator keeps coming up, then we're looking good. And we're not quite ready because price is still below the 15-minute 50. You know, I like to find things when they go on uptrends and when they're actually over their moving averages. So the fact that price is still below the 15-minute 50 tells me like it's still not quite totally perfect. Now, some of the names that I've been looking at, I just want to show you guys some examples. So IDEX is one that I've been kind of chatting about lately. Some things have been starting to change with these kind of names. And if you look on the daily chart for IDEX, we have price just now starting to break over the daily 50. And we have price just now starting to bounce off of the hourly 50. So I think something is starting to happen with IDEX. It's starting to look pretty good. So keep an eye on that. Start looking for these things. Start looking for price starting to hold moving averages. Whereas before, you can see here on IDEX, back around May 3rd, you can see that price did not hold the hourly 50. It did not hold these moving averages. But now it looks like it's starting to. So that's really great. We're starting to see some things change. All right, so let's see. Take a look at TAN. Yeah, this is one of the ones, one of the ETFs, sector ETFs that I keep my eyes on. It's kind of in the middle for what I would be looking for. It seems to me that it's probably going to get pushed up by the hourly 50 and will eventually probably get pushed up over the hourly 200. For now, I think maybe to the daily 50 would be a fairly good target for now, maybe just a little bit over it. But I think something like this still has a lot of work to do. And I think that there are other opportunities that are a little bit, they look better and they're a little bit more, they're riper. And I think that they are more ready to go. But these things are starting to shape up. If you look at TAN in the past, you can see that here on April 29th, did not hold the hourly 50. On April 7th, did not hold the hourly 50. And here on March 16th, it did not hold the hourly 50. So if we are starting to see something different, we should see price hold the hourly 50 and start to move up from there, generally. It can maybe dip below it for a trampoline move, but I generally want to see price hold the hourly 50 and start using that as a guide. Let's see. One of the other things, so SMH was another one of the ETFs that I'm looking at, and it looks very, very similar to the Nasdaq, and the fact that I think that we need to see a little bit of a pullback to some support. I see that there is also a gap off of the 8 EMA on the daily chart. And I also see that there is a big gap between price and the hourly 50 without price having touched the hourly 50 so far. So I want to see price come back down and do that. It kind of reminds me of TAN, what's going on there. It's a little bit of a gap. I'd love to see price come down, test the hourly 50 for support, and then we can start to move up. Looking okay there. There are some of the names that are just not doing too well. For example, CAT. You know, maybe these things are resting for now, right and through here. But for right now, just like the Dow Jones, like what I just showed you for the DIA, you see here, 525, May 25th, you see how price tried to move up into a downtrending moving average with the Moxie indicator still below zero? That's an inverse trampoline move. So right now, it's not ready. Maybe later, this will shape up and we can start looking at going long on CAT, but right now, it ran right into resistance and it's pulling back. Now we need to figure out where that next support area is going to be. Then if we take something similar, but in a very different kind of position, look at DE. You know, it broke going into earnings. And one of the clear things that we could see right here was price about May 17th running right into the underside of the hourly 50. It got oversold, it got through earnings, and so far it's been doing a bit of a bear flag right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. So if, let's ignore earnings. Let's just say earnings wasn't here, because if you were just going to trade this maneuver and you were just going to say, okay, I'm just going to buy the low here because I think it's going to go up. You're going to be partially right, because sure, price did kind of move up, but it ran right into the underside of a downtrending moving average, and that is not the right trade. All you've done is moved into resistance. We need to wait for price to go do its thing and to change these moving averages and to get on top of the moving average and then use an uptrending moving average for support. And we're just not there yet. You can see twice that DE has then gotten rejected by the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So DE still needs some time. CAT still needs some time. Those things are not quite ready. Yeah, JMI was a good example. So what we do want to see is right here.